Herkese selamlar. Hepiniz hoş geldiniz. Arkadaşlar bugün gene harika bir etkinlikle karşınızdayız. Carlo'yla geçen seferki konuşmamızın ardından, etkinliğin ardından çok talep oluştu ve biz de Carlo'yu tekrardan konuk ediyoruz. Melih hoş geldin.
Hoş bulduk abi, nasılsın?
İyiyim, çok teşekkür ederim. Sen nasılsın?
Ben de iyiyim, teşekkür ederim.
Harika. Şimdi arkadaşlar olay gene biz Türkçe bir özetleyelim. Carlo'nun gene yayını olacak ve iki aşamadan oluşuyor bize söylediği kadarıyla. Başlangıçta bir kısım ilerleyecek. Lütfen chatte sorularınızı İngilizce şekilde yönetmekten çekinmeyin. Carlo gerçekten interaktif olmasını istiyor dersin. Daha doğrusu içeriğin. Bunun için lütfen chat'e abi atalım her türlü yorumu. Carlo'ya biz yöneteceğiz. Genel olarak böyle. Ben sahneye Carlo'yu çağırmak istiyorum. Hazırsak Melih.
Hazırım abi.
Okay. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me back.
Hello. Thanks for coming. I hope you are good.
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. Can you describe to your life, if you want, shortly?
Yes, as I said, the past time, not really
Yeah.
much changed because I'm a Flutter Google developer expert, and
Yeah.
also I work full-time as a Flutter developer, and I'm really happy to share with you my knowledge because I think that everybody should work to share that knowledge when he works as a developer, because by sharing knowledge, usually you also learn something. So it's really something that I invite you to do. Today, you are here listening to me. Tomorrow, anybody of you can talk with their experience for the others. So I think this is something really great.
Awesome. Okay, if you want, we will start.
Of course.
Okay.
Tell me when the people see the slide, because I can't see the screen right now.
Okay, I will share your screen now. Yeah.
Yes, please. Okay.
Okay.
So, welcome to Flutter Basics. Today we will do a slightly less interactive session because the first part will be more or less a classical talk experience. And in the second part, we will try to build what I described to you. So, first of all, I'm sorry if I code seems a little slower than usually, but I just had a positive test for COVID, so I'm a little slower than usual, but I hope you will follow along. So, let's start. When you start a new Flutter project, when you want to start building something in Flutter, the first thing you need to do is to install the SDK. For that, you just go to flutter.dev, tap on Get Started on the top right corner, and immediately you are welcomed with a simple screen where you have all the most used OS, and you can select what's yours. And from there, you can simply follow the guideline in order to install the SDK in your environment. What do we want to build today? I choose a fake shop application made of two screens, basically a list of items and a detail with more information about that. Also, I want to have some animation between the page, and I want to pick the data from internet. So, for creating your application, you just need to run a simple command, the flutter create, and the name of the application you want to give. So flutter create my app should be easy enough to having your application created. Then you will see something happening in the command in your command terminal window. Because basically it will create the project, it will create the sign-in certificate if you are on a macOS machine, and then it will run the Flutter pub get. That is what you need to do when you add a new library. Since you are creating a new project from scratch, it will call it because you won't have any library already downloaded. Then hold on, and it will give you some sample how to get actually in the application and run it. Your code will be inside the lib folder of your project. Then, what we aim to do, it's an application that is available for all the platform. As you see here, my application was running in Chrome, was running in macOS, iOS, and Android emulator. I didn't include Linux and Windows just because working on macOS, I can't build and run for Windows, and the same for Linux. But the code base is the same. No need to do any change if you are on one of the two platforms. Let's go. So let's start with the actual code of the application. First of all, as I said, let's create the project. The command is the flutter create followed by the app name. You can put whatever you want there. Or you can choose to create the new project from the IDE. For this, I used IntelliJ. Is the same if you use Android Studio, but if you use Visual Studio Code, there it may be some difference, but the flow should be somewhat the same. You need to choose the Flutter SDK path. It should be already, if you followed the step on the flutter.dev, it should be already done. And then some information, some basic information. You need to define the project name. It can't contain any space and any special character. Just the underscore is allowed if you want to do some spacing, like in this case, my shop app. Then the project location. By default, the folder will be named the same of the project name, but you can change it. A description. This description will also finish in the README that will be generated. And then the project type. In this case, application, because we are creating an application. And the organization is part of the identifier that you will have for your application on Android and iOS for the publishing in the stores. Consider that usually this is by convention the name of your the URL of your company, but switched on the opposite. So in this case, com.hatdroid. It will become my shop app. Now you need to choose the language for Android iOS. You don't need that for this sample, but this is useful for a bigger project if you need in the future to write some native code. For example, if you plan to write a plugin, because this will be the language used for the project, the native project. I have to say you don't have to worry about this too much. So I suggest you to stick with Kotlin and Swift, but you can really don't worry for this sample. And then the best part, the platform. Since Flutter 3.0, all the platform are unstable. So you are free to select any platform without having to manually enable the platform. And then we can tap on finish and the project will be created. This will be the project structure that you will have on a new created project. As you can see, we have the lib folder inside my shop app. And this is where you will write your Dart code that will be basically your Flutter application. Then you have one folder for each platform. You can see here we have Android, iOS, Linux, macOS, and web and Windows. Those will be the folder to account if you need to do some native change. And then another two files important are the pubspec.yaml, that is basically the file you need to change wherever you have to import new dependencies, and the README, because the README will be your public face to the world if you share the project on GitHub. Let's, before everything else, create the model that we need, and let's see how we can make a web call to a web service to retrieve those data. Looking at the detail screen, we understand that we need the product. The product should have a title, a description, a price, a rating. You can see the rating in the bottom right part, the 4.1, and an image. I also added an ID because we will need the ID of the product just for the animation purpose. We will talk about that later. And then we need an API that will give us the data. For this, I used an already API that I found already ready on the web. Basically, the fake store API / product will give you a JSON with the item we need. So it's already done. You don't need anything else. Of course, you can change this URL with whatever you have for your project, and you need to change your model to fit your API. But let's go. For the model, I created a simple model. As you can see, all the fields are required and all the fields are final. This means that I can't create a model with all this information. Of course, this can change. As you can see, we have the ID, we have the title, we have a price, we have a description, and so on. Then we have another model inside, the rating. For the rating, I create a different model, and this will be what you saw on the API. Let's go back to the API. As you can see, the rating is another JSON inside my product JSON. So I created the same structure. I have another model with this value inside my listing model. Then I created two factory constructor. The listing model from JSON, it basically have a JSON from as a parameters, and it return a listing model. In this case, as you can see, from the JSON, I pick all the values and I assign it to the values. And as you can see inside, I have the rating, and the rating is calling the from JSON of the rating factory constructor that I created. This way, we don't need to worry too much what's happening inside, because I'm just passing the data to the first factory constructor, to the listing model, and the listing model will call the from JSON from the other class. Let's see how to make an API call. Sorry. I created, I know this is not best practice, but I created a static class that will handle my API service. Normally, you should do that with top level call, so you can just not use the API service. You can just have a get listings, but I prefer this approach because usually you may need something more like adding an authentication and so on. And this class can become, for example, a singleton, where in the initializer you can pass some data. In this case, it was not needed, but the habit was stronger than me, and then I used this approach. As you can see, this method will return a future of with type list of listing models. What it means a future? A future is something that is not immediately available, but it will be available later. For this, we have the async keyword that mark this method as asynchronous, and this let us call the await keyword. Basically, what we are doing here is to call, let's get back, the product URL, and using the method get of HTTP to have the answer. Then we pass the URL with the URI.parse method that convert it to a URI. And by awaiting this, the response will be not a future string, but will be a string, an effective string. But I can use the await only inside an asynchronous method. Then, after I get the answer, so after I awaited my HTTP call, I return a list of listing model from the constructor I created. So I for each element in the JSON that I have, you see the JSON decode transform the response.body, that is a string, in a JSON. I map it to iterate it, and then for any JSON in this JSON array, I return a listing model from JSON, the factory constructor that we saw before. Doing this, basically, we already have our data from the URL. So let's see now that we have the data, how to construct our first screen. What we see here is a list with an app bar with the name, a list of items, and each item have an image. Let's see how to construct these. Before that, we have a widget that is called the scaffold, that basically already is a basic structure for most application, because it have the space for an app bar, a body that is whatever it is between the top or below the app bar, and the bottom or above the bottom bar. Then we have also space for the floating action button that we want to use in this example, and a space for the bottom bar that we won't use it too. The best thing of the scaffold is that it handles also the theming of the inner member. So if you have the app bar, the text inside will be always coherent with the theming of that. The same for the floating action button, and the same for the body. Basically, you don't have to handle that for any component, because you will have the theming being passed around from the material app to the wall element tree. Let's create the home. The home, as we said, need to be a list of items, and you can see the list view here. And inside the scaffold that we said it's being the basic structure, you have an app bar the app bar will be simple, an app bar with a title. The title is also a widget, in this case a text with my shop app, simple. And then a list view builder that will return a list of shop list item. Shop list item is another widget that I created that we see in few moments. The shop list item will be the basic row with the image, the title, and the description in 2 lines. Flutter give us a simple widget to do that. Basically, the list tile. The list tile is a widget already pre-made that have a leading that we will use for our image, a title and subtitle, and more widget. For example, a trailing at the number 3. And it is already done. You don't need to do many work for that. You just use this widget and it will handle all the design with this different style for the title, text, and the subtitle. Let's see now. This is our shop list item widget. As you can see, I passed a listing model to the constructor, and it is required. So this will be how we tell this widget how to show something. And then inside in the list tile, in the build method, we return a list tile with a leading, so the first part, an image inside an aspect ratio to have a nice square image, and a title with the model title, and then a subtitle. The change here is that I just added a fix for the max line to be 2, because it can grow to whatever, but we don't want each description to be shown fully. So let's just fix at max lines 2, and overflow ellipses to after 2 lines. If the text is longer, it will show the 3 dots. This is the leading and the 2 text. Now, we said that when we used the API call, we didn't add a list of item, but we had a future of list of item. How we can use this value, because our list view wanted a list of listing item, store listings. So we have a future. What we can do, luckily Flutter give us the future builder, that is a widget that provide a way to use a future and a builder to handle this future. Let's see how it works. As I said, our get listing was a future. The list view needs to have a list of model. We wrap our list view inside a future builder, and here it happened the magic. In the future parameters of the future builder, as you can see in the first line, the future builder needs the type. We pass the future in our future builder. Again, this is not the best practice, because you should not give your future directly to the future builder, because this will be called anytime this widget is rebuilded. So it's better to cache the future. Maybe you call it on your main. Maybe you use a late call. This way you're sure that this won't be called more than once. And then in the builder we have some interesting information. The builder is a builder method with 2 parameters. The context, that is actually the build context, the same you have on Flutter on a stateless widget for the build method, and the snapshot. The snapshot contains the information about the future state. The future state can be checked with the snapshot.connectionState. Basically, it can have several states, started, not started, and on. You need to wait in this case that the state is done. Meanwhile, you can just show a circular progress indicator that is the circular spinner that basically tell you the application is loading. And then after that, we just check if I don't have any listing. Sorry, maybe something happened. So I just show a no listing available. And then we have our list view builder. As you can see, in this case, I add the item count, so the list view is not infinite. And in the item builder, I now can safely return the appropriate model to the shop list item. Let's go to the second screen. The detail screen seems more complex. It's just somewhat similar because we have a scaffold, and then consider that this scaffold will be basically your way to go widget for any page widget. So most of your page will probably start with a scaffold. Then we have the up bar with the title. In this case, the title will be the title of the object, and then the image, the description, the price, and the rating. One small things, because we want the image to pick a determinate value. The description needs to pick all the available space between the image and the price tag, and the price tag will stay at the bottom. Since the description must take this space, we can achieve this by using a column and an expanded. An expanded is a widget that put inside a flexible widget, so columns and rows will take all the available space. Let's see then our column. This will be our body of our scaffold. The cross alignment stretch will tell the widget, the flexible widget, to pick all the available space in its cross axis. The cross axis is the horizontal space for the column and the vertical space for rows. And then we have our children. We have our image and our expanded with a single child scroll view, the padding and the description. I added the padding because otherwise the text will be crammed touching the image on the top and the side of the phone, and it will be not good looking. As you saw, the image we set a definite 8, and we changed some parameters like the box fit. The box fit will tell the image to cover, the box fit cover will tell the image to be as larger as possible, to be entirely covering the image without stretching. So this image will be cropped somewhere, and with alignment we can tell the image I want it to be starting top center. So if you have to crop on the bottom and on the side. And our text. I wrapped the text inside a single child scroll view because if it will become bigger than the available space, we should be able to scroll to check it all. And then the bottom bar. The price in this case will be in a bottom bar. I could have put the price inside the body, but I prefer not to, because the bottom bar will also include a safe area that will go over the decoration of the phone. Like in this case, some iPhone have this little black bar that serve the purpose of opening a menu, and if I used the standard column with the with a row, I will add to check also that part. So our bottom-up bar will be done like that. Basically, we have a bottom navigation bar, parameters in the scaffold. We had a bottom-up bar, a widget, and inside the shield, we will add our needed parameters. A padding, again, to not having the text too much to the border of the phone, or touching the description if the description is longer, and then a row with a price and a rate. I put between the two texts a spacer. The spacer is like the expanded, but it doesn't require a child. This means that we can put the spacer in order to take all the available space and have the price to the left and the other widget to the right. Now let's handle the navigation, because the happiness is not the journey, but it's the journey, but not the destination. So we want to have our application navigate from screen A to screen B, and we have already a convenient way to do that. The Material app already have a navigator that we can use to tell the application where to go next. What we need to do is to wrap our application in a Material app widget, and then when we have our Material app widget higher in our tree, what we just need to do is to add an on top on our widget. In this case, the list style already provide an on top, or we can, for example, wrap our widget, if we are not using the list style, in a gesture detector widget. And then inside our on top, we just need to use to find the nearest navigator. We can do that with the navigator.off context, and we use the method push of the navigator in order to pass a new material page route. In the builder of the material page route, we pass our detail page, what we created, and we pass the model we have in our shop list item widget. This way, the detail page know what to show, and we can use our widget to navigate accordingly. Now, when I tap on a row, it will navigate to the page, but there is more, because any app bar inside a material application knows when there is some page on the stack before this one, and this will show up the back navigation button. In this case, tapping back will already pop the current route, and will take us back to our list screen. This will be basically for free. We don't need to do anything else, and it will already done. I promised you an animation. Where is the animation? Simply, we will do an hero animation. The hero is a widget that uses a tag parameters to animate when there is a navigation. It move one of the widget to the other, and you don't need to do basically anything else to wrap your widget you want to animate in a hero widget and use the correct tag. Let's see. We had our image in the list tile. We wrap the our animation, our image with a hero widget, as you can see here. And as a tag, we need a string. Sorry. We use my animation and the model ID. And in the second page, where we add the bigger image, we use the same tag and we wrap it in another hero. Doing that, basically, we already have a widget that will animate back and forth whatever we are selecting. It's important to have a tag, and the tag should be different because otherwise what is happening is that from the list, if we didn't use the tag with the ID, the animation won't have worked because from screen A, from screen B, it will work it, but navigating back, the animation won't know where it should navigate because every image have the same tag. So it's important to have an ID for that. And then you can simply experiment because basically, since it was so easy to create, if you change the color in the theming, for example, you saw I put in the material up red theming, you can change to any color and see your application changing on the fly thanks to the hot reload. And that's all for the first part. So if you have any question, I'm happy to answer, or we can directly go to the next interactive part. Do we have any question?
I think not. We don't have any question, but if you want, we can wait 3 minutes, enough for us. Okay. Arkadaşlar eğer herhangi bir sorunuz varsa İngilizce olarak yazarsanız Carlo'ya ileteceğim. Kendisi şu an dediği gibi ikinci parta geçiyor ve daha interaktif olması için uğraşıyoruz. Varsa hemen chatten alıp Carlo'ya iletebilirim. Okay. I think we don't have any question.
Okay, I can start with the second part then.
Okay.
So, basically now we will do a simplified part of simplified sample of what I showed you. To create a new project, as I said, let's just have the Flutter Sdk path. It should be already defined. Then let's give a title to this example. Let's see, 2-page sample. And let's stay with Kotlin Swift for this, and let's enable the platform. Let's create the widget, the project. Let's wait it for opening, and while it will create, I will simply run the emulator. Okay. So, as you can see, we have when creating a Flutter application, we have some ready-made code. I will delete these in a few moments. Give me some moment in order to give you these to be more readable. Okay, I don't want it to be full screen. Perfect. Okay, so if I now run these, it will be with the actual Flutter sample. We don't need that. Basically, let's delete all the things we don't need. Sorry, right now I'm just deleting code, so don't worry if you see errors, but we will fix that along the way. Okay, so now I'm going to do another bad practice. Basically, since I'm in this weird presentation mode, I will create all the things we need in this file. Please don't do that. Allow me to do that because I'm writing in this presentation mode and I don't have rapid access to the product to the structure window. So, okay, what we need to do is first of all a model. In this case, I will create a simpler model because I'm not going to do the web API call for a lack of time. So let's create a simple model. Let's call it listing item, and create it with simply an ID, so string ID, a title, and a description. I'm not going to use the image because not having the data from internet giving an image will be a little complex. So let's add the constructor for the value. And then let's create a fake API that will do our work. First of all, let's create a simple fake API method. So we need a method that is a future. Sorry. I'm not using my usual keyboard and I forgot where I have some, okay, it's here. List of listing item. This will be our getting listing methods, and I said that it should be a async method, and it should return a list of listing items. Let's say 20 items. Items. As ID, I will put simply the index to string. Okay. Sorry. Let's try to have it some more readable. As a title, let's just put title with the index again. And as a description, let's put it easier. This is a longer description that will hopefully take more than 2 rows, but to be sure, just put some random letters here. I hope this should be enough to having 2 rows for any widget. Okay, now that we have our method that return a future of list item, just to having a fake loader, because right now we have a future method, but the future method will return immediately what we need. So just to have an appearance of loading to see what's happening, let's use an await. Let's await future dot delayed, and we provide a duration of 2 seconds. This way, what will happen? Basically, whenever we call this method, we wait 2 seconds, and then we return this list that will be generated on the fly. We have the model, we have the future. Let's create our home. So let's create a new stateless widget called home. As I said, the first widget we need is the scaffold. Okay. In the scaffold, we have our app bar with the title. Sorry, sometimes the tooltip appears without me saying the cause of it. In the title, we simply write my shopping app, and then in the body, we will have 2 things. First, the future builder. Don't forget the type, listing item. Let's close it according. And the future builder needs 2 things. The future parameters, and that is our getListing methods, and the builder, that is our context snapshot method that should return a widget. For now, let's just return a center with as a child our circular progress indicator. Okay, what we just need to do in order to have it work in our material app, let's just put our home instead, and let's run the application and let's see what's happened. I hope it will run in the correct, yes, it picked up the correct device, so that's fine. Meanwhile, I can create the shop list item. So we said we need another widget, stateless, that will be called shop list item. What we need for that is to have a final model class, listing item that we call model or whatever we want, and we pass it as a required. Okay. And here we said we need a list tile widget. Let's put a title with a text that will be our model title. As you can see, it's running the application on the right meanwhile. And okay, the application is running, but for some reason, okay, it started responding again. And the subtitle of this will be, for now we don't see anything there because I didn't include it in my future. We will be there in a moment. Now we have our model title, description, sorry for the subtitle. Remember the max lines will be 2, and the ellipside overflow will be text overflow ellipsis. Okay, now we have our shop list item done. Let's go back here, and instead of simply returning these, let's check if snapshot dot connection state is not connection state done. Let's return our circular progress indicator. Okay. Of course, it gives me an error because this should return a widget, but is not doing that. So after the if, I'm skipping the part where I know, where I check if the list is null, because I'm returning it directly from my method, so there is no way that the connection can file and give me the wrong object. So let's simply return it. Let's put this here. Here we need to return our list view builder. The item builder is a function with the context and the index that should return a widget, and we will return our shop list item with the snapshot data at the index. We just need to do something before it explodes. We need to tell the list view that the item count is equal to the snapshot data. Okay. Here, this is why you should usually have the null check before this, because data can be null. In this case, we know that it won't happen, so we just force the data. Now, when I save, the hot reload will happen, and as you can see, after the loading, I have my title and description. Let's add an image just to have the hero animation. So what can I do if I don't have any image? My to-go widget for that is the Flutter logo. Flutter logo is a simple widget that you can put as a placeholder. It will just put a nice Flutter logo there. Okay, let's quickly create the second page. So detail, scaffold, always the scaffold. Let's put the app bar. I forgot the important part. Final listing item model. Okay, and again here required this model. Otherwise, we don't have the information we need here. The app bar this time will be with the title. Sorry. This time the title of the app bar won't be a fixed value, but will be the title of our model. Then in the body, we have a column with our bigger image. So Flutter logo, height 200, and an expanded with a single child scroll view. Okay. For the text scrolling if it becomes too much large. And then inside here, we will have a padding. Let's say with some space like 8. And our text. That will be a model.description. Okay. Of course, we won't see anything because we are not navigating from screen A to screen B. Let's add the navigation. I can do this because our home is inside a material application. So whatever down in the child, we can, in this case, in our list style, inside the on top, we can call our navigator of context. If you have any question meanwhile, please tell me. Okay, inside here, we need to pass some material page route and the builder. On the navigation, there is to do another talk maybe because it's quite complex, but don't worry. Okay, just let you know that any navigation will happen by the navigator, and any navigation will have a material page route. Here we must return our detail page and as our model. That's perfect. So let's save again. And now when I tap in any of this screen, I will have my navigation. Let's add the last part, the hero animation. So let's wrap our Flutter logo in the list style with a hero widget. The hero widget need a tag argument parameter. Let's use the model ID. This time is already a string, so I can just use that as is. As you can see, I wrapped my list style image with a hero animation, but if I tap, nothing happens because I didn't provided the animation to the hero tag to the second screen, so the hero doesn't know what to animate. So let's just wrap this logo too with the hero. Let's provide the same tag. So it was the model.id. And now, let's see. As you can see, the image animate back and forth. And As you can see, I never added this back button. It was just added by the the Flutter framework for me because I was using an app bar inside the I was using an app bar. That's all for me. We can show also the, let's try some change. So if I change it to red, it will be basically all the application, even the loader, if you noticed. Sorry, I just had a screenshot by mistake. Look at the loader when I change something and save. I will do in 2 seconds because even the loader will change color. Let's see. Okay, that's all for me. Any question?
Okay. I'm checking any question for your chat. Arkadaşlar herhangi bir soru varsa gene Carlo'ya sorabilirsiniz. Carlo şu an herhangi bir soru varsa alabileceğini söyledi. Okay, birazcık daha bekleyelim. Maybe we can wait 3 or 4 minutes for question. By the way, your description is very good. Thanks for today, Carlo. Everything is clear, I think. If I before starting the Flutter, you learn it to you, everything is different for me in my side.
Yep, same.
I know, but what I like about Flutter is that in 1 hour, I just explained you how to do a 2-page screen, but then in 20 minutes, I actually did that. Of course, I skipped the HTTP call part, but actually I built the screen you saw in the talk in 20 minutes, maybe something less.
Yeah. Okay.
It's really powerful, fast, and easy to use.
Yeah, exactly. I think we don't have any question. Everything is clear.
I don't believe it. Maybe the question will be later, but if you tell the team know the question, I can answer that, or you can tag me on Twitter, and I'm more than happy to answer your question.
Exactly. Okay. I think that's all. Thanks for Carlo today. And what we will do. Okay.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me again.
You are welcome. I hope maybe one event after we will do one more time and maybe more effective topic. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope to come to join you in presence when it will be possible.
The Flutter Students Club sites loving to you. Thanks for. Okay. I will remove your presentation and thanks for today.
You're welcome.
Okay. Have a good day and thanks for the presentation of us. That's all.
Yep, it was so helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. See you soon.
See you, Carlo.